Welcome back to Tomb Raider Tuesday, lovelies! It's been a while, hasn't it? Too damn long. Had stuff on my plate that wasn't bacon sandwiches, I can tell you that much. But as hard as life's been boxing me in the kidneys recently, I thought to myself, I can't just let my crusaders march into Egypt alone. Scared, without the great leader to rally them against the searing heat, mummy curses and sand in their underoos. So here I am, lovelies. To me, my faithful army. We shall steamroll these tombs in the croaking bosom of Africa together, and hold aloft our final piece of the Atlantean scion before celebrating with the mother of all pool parties in the Nile! Hurrah! And for the fatter and slower among you, it is worth remembering that the Nile is plagued with ravenous crocodiles, so please, if you see a suspicious looking log or drifting branch floating towards you, flee immediately, abandoning any half tons of provisions you may be stuffing your big wobbly faces with. Here we are in the first level of the Egyptian campaign, the city of Khamoon, and although it begins with a stressful amount of block pulling and pushing, as you can see here, it's a lovely stage overall and a most welcome change of scenery after staring at Greek sewers for 2 mind-numbing marathons in a row. Now, out of all the areas in the game, the Egyptian levels are the most faithful to the actual environment of their indigenous culture, even if they're still not what you'd call 100% historically accurate. I mean, there's a sphinx over this next ledge, so, you know. Still, next area is Atlantis, isn't it? So, they can do whatever they bloody well want with that, because Atlantis is not real. Never was real. Was a fictional island conjured up by the classical Greek philosopher Plato in his unfinished work, Critias. There you go, all that heaving and huffing for a pair of magnum clips. It's not even a secret. You don't impress Tomb Raider much. So you've got the moves, but have you got the touch? I once caught my dad singing along to that alone in his car. He turned it off as soon as he saw my disappointed face in his wing mirror, but by then the damage was done. Still don't know if he had just the single, or Shania Twain's entire album. Don't want to know. Don't want to pick at that scab. See that menacing shadow scratching at us there? That is the first of Egypt's many enemies, the Black Panther, a tougher, meaner upgrade to Greece's lions that will bring you down, claw out your stomach and use your ribcage as a letterbox, so we are certainly not going to give it, or indeed anything else in this area, the opportunity. Facts for you, a panther is merely a descriptive term rather than an actual species. In the case of black panthers, the big cats being referred to are either leopards or jaguars, depending on which part of the world you find yourself in. Here comes another member of Khamoon's wonderful fauna family, the cat mummy. No actual man mummies in this game, unfortunately, this is the best we get. And it really acts more like an enraged chimpanzee in the back of an ambulance than a cat. Also, they explode when they die, which will do some damage to you if you're up close. A lot of things explode when you kill them from this point on. That's how you know you're getting close to the end, you see. Nothing can just die. It has to take your damn face off to hell with it. Well, before we go any further, we're going to go fishing for ammo. There's a couple of magnum clips at the bottom of the pool below me that will be most handy for keeping all these damn cats and black cats and cat mummies and cat special edition variant cover ones out of my face. But why, fraggers, I hear you cry, why are there so many damn cats? Well, it's probably not news to you that although the ancient Egyptians revered many different animals, they held a special place above all others for the cat. It was deified as at least 3 major goddesses, first as Mafdet, guardian of Lower Egypt, then the more widely known Bastet before royal favour finally shifted to Sekhmet when Lower and Upper Egypt unified, although Sekhmet bore the visage of a lioness rather than a cat. Now, before any of these feline deities were dreamt up, cats still enjoyed an unusually high level of devotion in ancient legends and myths. The most telling of which had a legendary cat of various identities beheading the evil serpent god Apophis or Apep, the Egyptian god of chaos and nemesis of the sun god Ra, for attempting to strangle this sacred tree of life. But the biggest reason as to why cats were worshipped in the first place, even over dogs, who were domesticated a great deal earlier, is that cats were very, very good at wiping out snakes, scorpions, rats and other undesirables that prowled each dusty square foot of the terrain that their owners were attempting to settle on. Now, a lot of people seem to think that the Egyptians only mummified cats as a sign of their special place in society. Well, not true at all, although there are certainly a lot more surviving examples of cat mummification, not least a tomb that was unearthed at the turn of the 1900s containing some 80,000 of the furry fuckers. All kinds of animals were mummified for all sorts of different reasons. Now, as I said, the Egyptians held most animals in high esteem. I mean, look at their hieroglyphs. Just under half of all hieroglyphs ever discovered are of animals or animal related. Now, as a culture, they believed that some animals were literal incarnations of their gods, and how you treated those creatures would directly reflect on how you fared in the afterlife, which, if you know anything about Egyptian afterlife, is not a place you really want to be aiming to come in second place. Which bodes extremely poorly for Lara, you'd have to say. An eternity of tormented restlessness in the jaws of Amit awaits! And all because the girl loves wiping endangered species off the face of the earth. I like old school Lara. She didn't pretend to be particularly noble. As a character in the early game, she was largely a pretty nasty piece of work. I mean, you see at the start of the game, she's reading a magazine that features the tale of how she killed Bigfoot. What bloody harm was he doing to anybody? None. I believe her when she says to Natla that she only plays for sport, and that really makes her all the more scary because at best, she's a glory-seeking thrill killer and a thief that shows utterly no remorse in the things that she does or the people that she hurts. Even the crocodiles get the magnums today. We must honour them in their sacred place. Speaking of sadists, look at this. All the way down this tunnel just for a medipack. Iodos, you jackal-born filth. May Ammit consume you. May beetles inhabit your corpse. Crocodiles were another animal given a particularly lofty divine status in ancient Egypt, although that was far more out of fear than anything else. Nile crocodiles were a very real danger for anybody visiting the river for water, and I hope that by bestowing such a prestige upon them, the crocodiles would show them mercy by not tearing them to pieces. Not so successful, that venture, but not quite as disastrous as their attempts to domesticate them in the same way as they did cats. I mean, after all, cats were great at getting rid of snakes, scorpions and rats, but crocodiles are great at getting rid of practically anything that pisses them off. They tried to adorn their new scaly friends in jewels and let them wander around their houses and towns as they pleased, but as I'm sure anybody with the slightest experience of a ravenous 5-metre ton-plus reptile can attest, letting a Nile crocodile go wherever the fuck it wants usually results in a Nile crocodile doing whatever the fuck it wants, and mainly what they like to do is eat shit made of meat. This is quite a sweet little area here. You're basically using this block to work your way around the room, pulling up into different rooms to gradually work your way to an opening in the roof which takes you high above the chamber with the pool that we just dived into. Now you see some lovely distinctive Egyptian artwork around the room here portraying a woman crouching in the reeds. And what you'll find with Egyptian painting is that it's very much focused on individuals rather than their environments, with the exception of pieces that show hunting activities, as they felt the hunter's surroundings were as much a part of the ritual as the act of killing their prey. They have a very distinctive style of showing the subject's face from the side, but then presenting the rest of the body facing forwards, as well as dramatically differing the size of their subjects in order of importance. Now the reason a lot of these paintings have survived over their early European counterparts is thanks in part to the process the Egyptians used of protecting them with a type of resin, but largely because, surprise surprise, Egypt is a very dry country with precious little humidity to damage them. She is a beast, isn't she? What do you reckon that block's made out of? Limestone, probably? And Lara's what, 5'10"? So that block's about 6.5 cubic feet, let's say. That's nearly a ton. I'm surprised it didn't include the whole hand-to-hand mechanics sooner than legend. She could probably punch the head off a horse. You know, interestingly, as huge a hit as it was on the PlayStation, Sony initially didn't want Tomb Raider on their shiny new console, because they were apparently being incredibly picky about what they were going to allow on it. I mean, obviously their standards went on to drop dramatically, but even when you look at the launch titles for the first PlayStation, you really just think, really? Was Tomb Raider going to be any worse than Kiliak the Blood? Was Tomb Raider going to look that silly next to Street Fighter the movie? The game adaptation of an awful movie adaptation of a great sequel to a terrible game. You can't work with that kind of lineage, man. It's like ringing a phrase through Google Translate in 4 different languages. I remember it used that whole digitized sprite modelled on real actors thing that Mortal Kombat made popular back in the 90s, and that really didn't help matters very much because, look, you can't dress your actors in the same wacky outfits as they've got in the game for your movie. It looks fucking retarded. It does. Without fail. But then what they've done is they've taken those stupid looking actors and costumes and put them back into a video game, which makes it all look even more low budget and tacky. And nothing about it was good. The movie was the same damn thing as the game. Just make another edition of fucking Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter 2 Turbo Arcade, Street Fighter 2 horrible fucking movie edition. What's the difference? Like, in the same launch window, Sony had Battle Arena Toshinden, which, alright, hasn't aged particularly well, but with so many leagues above Street Fighter the movie that slapping down Tomb Raider makes you look like a stupid arsehole. I mean, what came after that? What? Primal Rage? Cheesy? Cheesy the fucking mouse? You remember Cheesy? I don't blame you if you don't, you probably repressed the memory of it. We only want the best for the mighty Sony PlayStation. Street Fighter the movie? Are you insane? Did you play it at any point? Did you ever once clap eyes on it? It looks like how shit tastes. And you're shooting down Tomb Raider. Really? My word. So, Tomb Raider was at one point only going to be on the Sega Saturn. But eventually Sony relented. Oh, go on then, I suppose we'll give you a bit of floor space next to Cheesy the Mouse. But don't get on Cheesy's nerves, it's going to be the star of a multi-platinum selling franchise. No, not franchise. Cheesy the motherfucking mouse. In a franchise! Write that down. That's a naughty boulder. That squished me a couple of times when I haven't been paying attention. With two secrets dead opposite in this level, one where we just were and one all the way over the other side of this area, tucked away in a dusty little corner. Marvellous. Alrighty, down we go into the underground temple now, marked by a quite famous statue of the cat goddess Bastet, known in archaeological circles as the Gaia Anderson statue, named after the retired army major that donated it to the British Museum where it currently resides. And perhaps the most noteworthy feature of the statue is the amulet it wears around its neck, known as a Wadjet amulet. Now, Wadjet has a long and very transformative history as a goddess of Egypt, mainly as a personification of the Eye of Ra, which was a role held by many goddesses throughout history, Bastet and Sekhmet included, and it's probably more accurate to think of the Eye of Ra as a weapon than you would a traditional anthropomorphic entity. Unlike Zeus or even the god of Judeo-Christian religion, Ra wasn't much into fighting or flooding himself, so he typically sent whichever overpowered crazy lady that was on Eye of Ra duty to kick the shit out of his enemies for him. Sekhmet went one time and got herself in such a fucking blood rage that Ra had to turn her into a cow so that she stopped breaking shit. Hathor was another one. Ra got suspicious one time that the entire human race was plotting against him, so he sent Hathor, who was depicted quite early on as a cow goddess, to wipe every single one of the bastards out of existence. But Ra knew that was going to be a bit of a mission, so he sent good old Sekhmet off to finish the job in the morning, but she did a bit of that and then got shit-faced on red beer instead, and the whole thing just sort of petered out. God, ancient mythology is fucking awesome, isn't it? Sekhmet, I can still see a few of them running about down there. Sekhmet! Oh, Jesus Christ, look at the state of you. What? What, I can't have a little drink? I can't. Not even drunk! Not even drinking anymore. But anyway, the depiction of Bastet wearing the amulet of Wadjet is from a time just before the two merged to become Wadjet Bast, where they were depicted as a singular entity with the body of a woman and the head of a lioness, like Sekhmet. And that carried on until Wadjet evolved into her final form, Mut, at which point this staggering death engine became known as Mut Wadjet Bast, like they all slotted together like the fucking Megazord from Power Rangers, and you see a great deal of this in Egyptian mythology, more than any other culture, as they tended to pull DC Comics style crisis events every half a century or so and swap around which god did what and who killed who and who's absorbed what to become this god, but it was mainly down to religious politics and royal preference. For example, Wadjet didn't exactly evolve into Mut or in any sort of Jean Grey, Dark Phoenix kind of story arc. She just sort of took on her name more or less because Mut's cult had risen dramatically in prominence at the time, bringing with it the cult of Amun, another ancient god who was husband to Mut. Eventually, his cult found favour with the ruling pharaoh of the time, and so he was merged with Ra to become Amun-Ra. Now you can sort of trace the allegiance of some of these pharaohs by their names. One of the most famous, Tutankhamun, his name translates to quite literally living image of Amun, but his original name was Tutankhaten, aka living image of Aten, another god that was in major favour before he took the throne thanks to his father Akhenaten. Piss off, you raggedy bag of shit! It even screams like a monkey. It's so clearly a monkey. And there you go, fuck me. That smashed me down from full health, that. That's why you don't want to go toe to toe with them, right now. But, anyway, it wasn't enough that Tutankhamun swapped the gods' pecking order around back to how he liked them. No, he still had the problem of Egypt's capital city being Akhenaten. Couldn't have that anymore, seeing as it was built in worship to Aten, so he had the entire place abandoned and marched everybody back down the river to Thebes, where they stayed for about 10 years, until Seti I came into power and decided everybody was going to Memphis instead. What an arseache, eh? Imagine if every time there was a new president you had to pack your shit and move. No, not living here in Washington anymore. Bollocks to that. Pack up, we're going to Alaska. Thebes was eventually taken by the Assyrians, who you might remember as being utterly useless in Age of Empire deathmatches. I don't think you ever played as them in the campaign, or against them. No, who were those fuckers I hated from? The Libyans! Damn Libyans! And the Canaanites! I remember that final mission of the Egyptian campaign where you have to smash the city. I remember the ending cinematics showed this really elaborate siege with catapults and all sorts, where in reality I just trained 50 war elephants to go and kick their houses over. Ba 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 ba. Look out! Look out! War elephants on parade! Here they come, kicking your city down. They're here. They're there. War elephants on parade. Good times. Alright, the exit is just up this ramp here. I had to be careful coming down because of that goddamned cat mummy scratching my damn face off. Once you get to Tomb Raider Anniversary, they throw fucking fireballs at you as well because they're obviously so underpowered in this game. Only twice as fast as you. You misspelt Sapphire, we all saw it. Shame on you, core design. That's why you got the franchise taken away from you. And that, lovelies, is that. Of course we got every kill, pickup and secret. Of course we did. You know by now that's how we're rolling through these tombs. Join me again in a couple of weeks for a similarly obsessive, attentive charge through the deadly scavenger hunt that is the obelisk of Khamoon. See you there.
Prehistoric bitch, how we do things downtown.